Fantasiana is arguably the second most well-known theme park in Austria. This amusement park originally opened in 1996 as Erlebnispark Straßwalchen, but it was renamed Fantasiana in 2011, and that is a very fitting name. This is a surprisingly well-themed park with fantastical themes, and the park has an interesting ride lineup highlighted by two of the most underrated rides in the world in Wild Train and Knight's Ride Tower. So in this video, I will be reviewing Fantasiana, this little talked about park. Fantasiana is located roughly 2 hours east of Munich, Germany, and 3 hours west of Vienna, Austria. It's not super close to any destination theme parks on a European road trip, but this little park fit perfectly into my itinerary as I was driving between Germany and Poland. When you approach Fantasiana, you can see very little of the park. The park doesn't have many tall rides, and it's also surrounded by trees. I was glad this park coincided with one of the hottest days of my trip because there was plenty of shade and indoor attractions here to stay cool. Once you make your way through the castle-themed entrance, you can either go left or right. The overall park layout is one continuous winding pathway that unfortunately has dead ends on both sides. So be prepared to do some backtracking at Fantasiana, but at least the park isn't too large. The right side has the more family-friendly attractions, while the left side is the park's most extreme rides. For many years, all I knew about this park was Wild Train. This PAX creation was Fantasiana's first roller coaster in 2005, and while it looks like a family coaster, it rides nothing like one. Wild Train is a relentless little coaster with some of the most powerful and abrupt ejector airtime on the planet. I had bruises on my thighs the next day from this ride's power. Add in some bits of positive G's, laterals, and terrifying head choppers, and you have an excellent coaster. This ride didn't make my top 25, but I would place it ahead of the lower tier RMCs, a large chunk of B&M Hypers, and rides 3 to 4 times larger than it. I have a separate review going into more detail, but this ride is very good. One operational note that's worth mentioning is that this coaster cannot operate in the rain, so just keep that in mind if precipitation is in the forecast. As amazing as Wild Train is, it's one of the few rides in this park that isn't themed. In fact, Wild Train's area is really the only unthemed area in the park. Almost every other area and attraction in this park has some sort of theming. The park as a whole looks great, especially because the theming is paired with all those aforementioned trees. The theming may not be on par with a major theme park like Phantasialand or Europa Park, but it is a step above most parks. I'd say the amount of theming is on par with a park like Storyland back home. And Fantasiana has really stepped up their game with their newer additions. Not only are the rides themselves getting superior theming, but the additions are accompanied by themed lands. The best example of this was their new for 2021 edition. Fridolin's Verrückter Zauberexpress is arguably the best themed junior coaster in the world with its I'm a Score soundtrack, theatrical launch sequence, and near misses. And that theming extended to the brand new Magisches Dorf or Magical Village area that opened with the coaster. This area has a charming medieval feel to it, and the coaster winds its way around the area. Fridolin's Verrückter Zauberexpress is a solid junior coaster. While it isn't intense, it's not supposed to be. This is a very smooth and comfortable ride for guests of all ages. And it has a unique layout for a coaster like this, packing in a whopping 5 launches. I also have a separate review on this coaster. Now those are the park's only 2 coasters, but this park is about way more than just those 2 attractions. There are 2 notable flat rides at this park. The best is easily Knight's Ride Tower, an incredible indoor drop tower from ABC Rides. I have a separate review on this attraction, but it blew me away. Despite standing just 56 feet or 17 meters tall, this drop tower feels considerably taller, and the drop produced a shockingly great freefall sensation. But what really elevated this drop tower was the theming. The ride is enclosed in a castle, you have some murals and a large dragon animatronic in the queue line, and then you have 4 show scenes during the attraction's ascent, and 2 of them are accompanied by surprising 4D effects that will make most riders jump. This is my favorite drop tower after the Tower of Terror iterations at the Disney parks. That is how good this ride is. The other notable flat ride here is Flyosaurus. This star flyer is the park's tallest attraction, standing 115 feet or 35 meters tall, and it gives a nice bird's eye view of the park. and it's part of the dinosaur-themed area that has a Jurassic Park vibe between the music, landscaping, and architecture. The park doesn't have too many other flat rides for either kids or adults. The park instead has a collection of dark rides and track-guided attractions populating the right side of the park. To go between the left and right sides of the park, you travel down the super narrow western-themed area. There aren't any rides in this section of the park, but you have a few shops and games, and the facades all look great. Eventually, you reach Schlosshof, or the castle courtyard area. I found it weird that Knight's Ride wasn't in this section of the park, but I guess it makes some sense because you already had a pre-existing castle, more specifically Schloss Dracula, or Castle Dracula. This is a surprisingly long haunted walkthrough that took roughly 20 minutes start to finish. Just make sure you take note when the ride is open. This walkthrough had very limited hours, presumably due to its staffing requirements. It would open for an hour and then close for 2, off and on all day. And on that note, there were a few other attractions with rotating schedules on this side of the park as well, but I'd prefer that over a ride being closed all day. But back to Schloss Dracula. The attraction had several rooms where guests would be staged. There was a mix of show scenes with animatronics and walkthrough sections with scare actors. There weren't too many scare actors, but those present were very loud and animated. The show scenes were surprisingly dark, including a scene where Dracula comes out of the closet and drains a woman of her blood. You would not see something like that in the US. And a few of these scenes are paired with 4D effects for added thrills. This was better than most haunts at Halloween Horror Nights, so this walkthrough is not to be missed. Moving further through the park, you have a small fairy tale forest area with some miniature sets. You can either observe them from the midway, or from a few different transportation rides running through the area, most notably a monorail. The back section is called the African Orient, and has a similar feel to the Adventureland areas at the Disney parks. You have a ton of trees and a nice pond in the middle of this area. Then you have 2 safari-based rides, a safari raft ride, and a safari jeep ride. Both rides take you past static figures, but they were a major hit with kids. The 2 best rides in this section are Mami Wata and Sinbad's Abentureis. Mami Wata is a relatively rare Hafima log flume. While this flume doesn't occupy much land, it features some theming both in the queue line and the ride itself, a backwards drop, an elevator lift, and a decent final plunge. This ride wasn't a soaker either, it just provided a moderate splash for all. Sinbad is a slow dark ride from IE Park. I visited this park on a Friday in the peak of summer, yet almost everything was a walk-on all day. And in all the trip reports I've seen from this park, large crowds have never seemed to be an issue. Between the crowd levels at this park and the decently efficient employees, lines don't seem like they're going to back up most days. However, Sinbad was the one ride that had to wait all day. This ride loaded trains at a glacial rate and had a consistent 20-minute wait most of the day. This dark ride was decent. It had a good ride system that spins riders at each scene to properly position them. The animatronics in the ride were just okay. They were larger than average, but they had very limited movement. I didn't get any food during my visit. The park didn't have too many food stands, so those that were open had lengthy lines. So do I recommend Fantasiana? Yes. If you're a thrill seeker, this park should be on your radar because of the park's top 2. Both Wild Train and Knight's Ride Tower are excellent despite their size. And then the park as a whole has a much better atmosphere than I expected with all the abundance of trees and the theming. I know Austria isn't a country too many coaster enthusiasts frequent, but Fantasiana is a charming little park with some unique rides you can't find elsewhere. So those are my thoughts on Fantasiana, arguably the best theme park in all of Austria. Have you been to this park? What are your thoughts about the theming or attractions? I would love to hear what you think about this place down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate if you gave this video a like and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.